Hi everybody, I'm David.
And I'm Eddie.
And we are full-time gays.
And we're going to give you a tour and review of Rainbow Ranch here in Groesbeck, Texas.
Join us. Hey everybody, welcome from Rainbow Ranch Campground in Groesbeck, Texas. Where's Groesbeck?
It's about 2 hours south of Dallas, maybe 2.5 hours north of Houston.
Kind of right in the middle.
Yeah.
And this is our very first video of the 2021 season. We are actually on a 4.5-month trip. This is stop number 1. We're gonna bring you 14 more gay campground reviews this year.
Yep.
In fact, our next video is going to be about how we hitch up and get ready to travel, because we're going to be at our next destination for like 3 weeks and we want to give you something in the meantime. Let's get to Rainbow Ranch.
Yeah, so Rainbow Ranch actually has a sweet spot for us because we've been here before we started our channel, and actually we had a perm spot here for our northern folks. That's a seasonal spot. So we know about the place. It is a beautiful park.
It is absolutely gorgeous. It's what, 250 acres. It's right on Lake Limestone in just outside of Groesbeck,
Yep.
Texas. And in addition to the 250 acres, they have 400 more acres behind on the other side of the street that's mostly undeveloped. In fact, they have plans to develop an actual kind of gay neighborhood called the Stonewall Estates, and you buy the lot, you build the house on it, and it's yours. I don't think there's any takers on that yet, but there are tons of trails, which we'll talk more about in a second.
Yeah, when we get to grounds, facility, and vibe. Really.
And speaking of that, yeah, we're going to review the place. If you haven't watched one of our videos before, we rate it on 4 categories.
Yep.
We look at its big rig friendliness. How easy is it to get to the campground? And then maneuver in the campground once you're in it. And then we look at
grounds and facilities. We talk about what's here. What are you going to do and spend your time with while you're here?
And then we look at the vibe. And the vibe is totally subjective, right? It's like, what is our impression of the social scene, the atmosphere of the
Yep.
place? And then after that, we talk about the interwebs, because we work full time and we...
Damn it.
I know, right? And we need internet in order to do that work. And so we look at the connectivity for the major cell providers, as well as if there's any Wi-Fi. Spoiler alert, there is.
It's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, it is. It is. So without further ado, let's talk about big rig friendliness.
Yeah, so we typically split that category up in 2 sections. One of getting to the park, and then the other one maneuvering within the park. Getting to the park, fairly easy. It's a Texas state road. Getting up to the last road here, which is LCR 800, I think is what it is.
Say that 3 times fast.
Right. So once you turn onto LCR 800, that changes just a little bit. The road narrows down. There's a few spots where I don't think you'd actually be able to pass another vehicle coming to you. There's some potholes. There are some scary small bridges you have to cross.
But they are able to withstand the weight. Like, it has a sign like up to 60,000 pounds, and we're big, but we're not that big. And maybe some of the bigger motorhomes might struggle with that. I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, no, we passed over it. The bridge is still there.
Yep.
So I guess we're fine. But as you're crossing it, you will see like edges of the road that are kind of like crumbling off, and it's not because it's just crumbling off. It's like the earth below it is gone down into the river. So it's kind of scary.
You make it sound like some road in Nepal.
Kind of looks like that actually for that one little section. But once you get here to the park, which we'll talk about in a second, so I'm going to give that a score of 3 out of 5.
Okay, I'm going to agree, 3 out of 5. It's really easy to get to that road. The road itself isn't bad. I mean, it's navigable. We didn't hit any branches, unlike some other places we've been to.
Right.
The challenge, as Eddie said, is that it's not very wide. And so we actually timed ourselves to get here on Memorial Day later in the afternoon so that we didn't have to like pass a bunch of RVs on that road, because that would have scared me a little bit, especially when you get toward those bridges which are single lane. So 3 out of 5 on that.
Yeah, no doubt.
In terms of when you're in the park, it's a breeze. The place is huge. You go down like what, half a mile or a third of a mile down this dirt road. And it's got bumps, but you take it slow. Yep. And no harm, no foul. It's also been like incredibly rainy all year down here. Yeah. And so it's got extra potholes because of that. But the getting into the park, you stop at the office, you park, you check in, and they give you your site if you haven't already reserved it in advance. All of the transient sites are like right here,
right up front.
Yeah, and so it's super easy to get there. Now our particular site, we did like a 4-point turn to get into it, just because it actually faces directly toward the exit. So we kind of backed into a site, pulled forward, and then backed into the site next to us. Yeah. But yeah, I would say within the park, easy 5.
Oh yeah, totally agree with you on there. All the perm sites or seasonal, depending on where you're from. They're all in the back. They're smaller roads, but once you're in there, you're typically not coming in and out. Down here and up front, where all the action is where your transient sites are, easy in sites.
What kind of action?
Well, not at this park. It's a co-ed park.
We didn't say that. This is a co-ed park. There's lesbians and even some kids here.
Yeah, I mean, don't think of it as like, a KOA where you're going to have kids running around and splashing in the pool and there's playgrounds. No, you'll see a kid here and there, but it's mostly adults, yes.
But yeah, in terms of big rig friendliness inside the park, what's your score?
I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay, so we both gave it a 3. We both gave it a 5. That means that would be an 8 out of 10. So big rig friendliness, 8 out of 10. Good job, Rainbow Ranch. Next, you want to talk about grounds and facilities?
Sure. Grounds and facilities, beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, just take a look at what you see here. A big, huge lake. There's a smaller pond up front. You got the big, huge rec center. Go to their website. You can find all kinds of pictures about parties they've had in there. Big DJ equipment, DJ lights, huge. We didn't go in there. It is locked up. I think they keep that locked on non-event weekends. The other side of that is a beautiful pool. They don't have a big, huge pool deck, but I know they've been talking about plans of expanding that.
Yeah, the pool itself is fine. It's not the biggest pool, but it's adequate. It's the area around it. They obviously have to have a fence around it. Yeah. It'd be nice, and I know that, like you said, they're talking about it, extending the patio area around it so that it's not the pool and then the covered deck by the rec hall. Yeah. It's kind of like one big area. For now, it's still adequate. It's perfectly fine. And in addition to that, they've got a volleyball court. They have a basketball court. Yeah. They have, well, it's a lake. I wouldn't swim in it. I guess you could. I've never seen anybody from here swim in it. It's the end of the lake, so it's like there's still a whole bunch of tree stumps from before it was flooded, before they built the dam or whatever.
Yeah, and I grew up in the South, so I know any body of water you don't swim in because you're no longer on top of the food chain.
True, but they have canoes that you can use. Again, I don't see a lot of people doing that.
And kayaks.
But we have seen people do that. What else do they have? Oh, they have lots of rental well, not lots, like 9, right?
Yeah, they have 9 total rental cabins. 4 that are a little bit smaller than the rest. They also have magnificent tenting area with power and water.
They've got a fire pit, a beautiful dock that you can walk out onto the lake a little bit.
Fish off of?
Yeah, you can fish off of it. And then when you go up into the perm area, whoo-wee, this is where this campground is, like, it shines.
Yeah, I mean, if there was ever a campground that had an HOA, this one qualifies for having one because every site is epic. You talked about the size. It's 250 acres. There's about 150 sites, and you would think, God, those sites are huge. And you're right. They're huge.
Yeah, I mean, they're very large sites, and they're very well kept up. And we'll talk more about that part in the vibe, but people have golf carts, big deck envy, huge covered decks. Yeah. And because there's a lot of golf carts, there's also a lot of trails, which I think counts under grounds and facilities. Yep. An extensive trail system, literally miles and miles and miles of trails, both on this lower end where we are now, between here and the road. On the other side of the road, in those 400 undeveloped acres, there's a quarry back there. Because of the rain, most of it's flooded.
We didn't get any video. Yeah. It's too hard to get back there.
Yeah, I mean, even in a golf cart, I wouldn't want to do it, and we just have our segways, and it's during the week mostly, so there's not a whole lot of folks here, unlike the weekends.
Right.
But yeah, it's absolutely epic. And then there is also a natural gas well that I don't think the owners own it. I think they don't have the mineral rights for it. It doesn't make a lot of noise. It doesn't stink, but it's like on the other side of these trees. You'll see it in the pictures, but it's
so if you ever wanted to see one up close, you have your opportunity here.
You can set up a lawn chair, read a book. But okay, bottom line, grounds and facilities are really, really good. The only downside is that some of the transient sites, they're not, I mean, they're super easy to get in and out of, but most of them are back in, especially the largest ones where we are right now. Not a huge deal. And these sites only don't have sewer. There's other transient sites that do, up on the grass on the other side of the office. Yep. So that would be nice. Given that, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 for grounds and facilities. Oh, bathhouses.
We're still talking about the campground?
Well, we're talking about grounds and facilities.
Oh, those bathhouses. God. about it. They do have 2 bathhouses here. One right up by the pool, which is their original bathhouse, both men and women's sides to that. And then they have a new one right up behind us, which is brand new. I think they just opened last year before last.
A couple years ago, yeah.
So again, you have one that's real close to the tenting area and one real close to the rec center pool area.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so I still give it a 9 out of 10. I love the facilities here. It's just a very beautiful campground.
Yep, and I'm also going to agree with you on that one as well. 9 out of 10.
Okay, so there you go. We average again. 9 out of 10. Good job, Rainbow Ranch.
Average?
No, we average. Not we are average.
Okay.
Hashtag verbs. All right, you talk about the vibe.
So the vibe. Unfortunately, we got here on a Monday, Memorial Day on Monday. So by the time we got here, everyone was cleared out already. We're here for the week. We're now on the weekend after a major holiday. Not a whole lot of folks, plus the weather. So we're going on the vibe that we've seen and some of the vibe that we've known from when we were here as seasonals or perms.
And people we talked to this week as well. But yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, so again, talking about the perm sites up in the back, we'll show you some pictures of it, but you're talking big, beautiful rigs, and it's a very, I hate to use this term, like keep up with the Joneses vibe.
It could be. I could see how people could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if somebody, pulls out their RV to go trade it in on a newest, biggest thing that's out there, well, you're gonna see a lot more folks doing the same thing. Yards with massive, decks on them, multi-tiered decks.
Deck envy.
Deck envy. We love big decks.
Small decks, big decks, covered decks, multi-tiered decks.
Uncovered decks.
You get a deck and you get a deck. I mean, they are beautiful.
And not only that, but they also have golf carts. And some folks, they don't just get a golf cart. They have to get the lifted golf cart with the custom wheels and the 4-wheel drive and the sound systems and the lights. And well,
and they do, yeah.
You can't have one because, let's just say we're here as parents with golf carts. If David's at the pool with the golf cart, how do I get down there? So I have to have one too.
But the pro of that, well, 2 things. The golf carts are important here because the property's so large.
Yes.
And B, there's all these trails. I mean, you're not going to go walking from, I guess some people would.
Why?
I know, right? But I mean, it's a culture thing here.
Yeah.
On the weekends, people go on the trails and they go hang out and have cocktails or be rowdy and rambunctious and do other things that gay men sometimes do.
Yeah. Or women.
Or women, yes. But yeah, it's the golf carts are epic. It speaks to pride and ownership here. I mean, people that are perms here, they love what they have. They spend the time, they spend the money to like really develop it. They take care of it. Green grass, in addition to the size of the decks, beautifully manicured yards, gardens. All of that is just a huge, awesome part of the vibe.
Yep.
This was actually the very first place we ever went camping. When we first bought our first tent, like 11 years ago. It was right behind us is where we set up our brand new tent. I got space food.
God, I remember you ate styrofoam.
They called us ground dwellers. But that all goes to the vibe too, because there's a lot of tenters that come here because there's a lot of space for it. It's right on the lake. And that, in addition to the transient sites and the facilities that they have, there's a lot of fun to be had on the weekend. And
matter of fact, that very first weekend, we were adopted by another couple who took us out on their golf cart on the trails that very first night.
Absolutely, and it kind of helped get us hooked on camping. So again, thanks to the culture here, we're in no small part still camping and full-timers today.
Yeah.
And so what I'd say about the vibe is if there's activities, if you're the first time you're ever coming here, if you're by yourself or just you and your husband or wife and you've never met anybody, the busier weekends, in my experience, and this is just my own opinion, right? So don't send us nasty grams. But it's easier to meet people for the first time when you're in the common areas up front toward the park. When there's not a lot of folks here other than perms, they're awesome people. But it's just such a big place that by kind of necessity, people form in groups at different sites. And you can easily walk up to one of these sites and you'll have fun doing it. But if you're extra shy, don't necessarily expect somebody that's on their site as you walk by to say, hey, come over and join us. They could.
Yeah.
And it happens. But if you're super shy, that may make some a little skittish if it's a slower weekend.
So what you're saying is you might have to put yourself out there just a little bit extra to kind of break through that hard candy shell.
yeah, I wouldn't even call it a hard candy shell, but you get what you give, right? Don't expect everything to be handed to you. You have to walk up to somebody and say hi, or happen to be in an area where there's a lot of people, and you'll meet people, and you'll meet really good people that are nice and caring and giving and selfless in a lot of ways. So I am going to give this, I'm going to call it a 9 again. I just love the vibe here.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I'm going to give it just a step down on an 8, only because it's so hard to have like a 250 person kumbaya, which I think I've used that term before. So for those introverts like me, it is going to take a little bit more effort to kind of get that vibe that you're really trying to find.
Yeah, okay, so 8 and 9, so 8.5 out of 10 for the vibe.
There you go.
Good. Last but not least is the interwebs, which, as we mentioned earlier, is super important for us. We have hotspots with Verizon and with AT&T, although the AT&T one's more expensive. And our hotspot plan with Verizon is kind of grandfathered. I don't think it's available today, but it's truly unlimited, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And we have a WeBoost that boosts that signal if it's weak, and it usually is pretty helpful. And then we also hope that some campgrounds have Wi-Fi. So on our Verizon hotspot, what would you say?
So, in the past when we were perms here, Verizon was always great. I don't know if it's because of the weather or maybe where our site is, we got blocked by trees, but I was kind of struggling with internet this week.
Yeah, same. My phone can connect, especially when it's in the range of the WeBoost, just fine, no problem at all.
Yep.
The hotspot, maybe it just doesn't have as strong of an antenna or something, it still struggled.
Yeah. It showed a great signal, it just didn't have a good strength to it, I guess.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It had like 4 bars, which normally would give you like 100 megabits per second.
Yeah.
But the Verizon signal wasn't great. And there were times when, if it's like in your pocket, I'll take out my phone and it's like 0 bars until it's out of my pocket again. That's weird. It's a change.
Yeah.
We used to have AT&T, and that service here was like what we just described when we were perms.
But apparently now it's the opposite. AT&T is great here.
They built a new tower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So AT&T signal, from what we hear, is a lot better. Who knows about T-Mobile? T-Mobile. But their Wi-Fi, this is really cool. This place, go ahead.
Yeah, so normally in campgrounds, especially gay campgrounds, destination parks, they're way out in the middle of nowhere. So getting a Wi-Fi service is crap.
Right.
To put it out, it's usually crap.
Hello, HughesNet.
However, I'll let you explain, because it was like a tower that they're coming off of, and it repeats. And
I don't know what the technology is, but they have a tower that it's got to be 100 feet tall, and it reflects off of another tower up at the main road, and then at the main road another one, and it's all line of sight. But apparently they've got them just perfectly aligned. And
how'd
then
that go?
Yep, you heard me. And then in the park itself, they've got repeaters throughout the park. And from what we've been able to tell, it's a really good, fast signal. Now, disclaimer, if it's a holiday weekend and you got 300 guys on Grindr and 50 women on, forgive me ladies, I don't know what apps you use, if you use apps, but I don't know what apps they use, but it's not going to be super fast. I mean, it's just not enough bandwidth. But during the week, for us, we had no problems, with the exception of sometimes inside a camper, the signal struggles to get through.
I was constantly like dropping the signal. The signal was great, but then all of a sudden my phone would just forget it, and then I had to go back and manually reconnect that Wi-Fi, but that was about it.
Yeah, on my side of the camper, I didn't have that issue. And so next time we would order, we would come with like a Wi-Fi extender or an enhancer or, whatever those things are called. And that would certainly help with that. But I think the fact that they invested that much in the Wi-Fi infrastructure is huge kudos to them. We hear that it works in many places throughout the park. Yep. Again, if it's busy, maybe not so well. And that makes up for the lack of our Verizon signal. And if you had AT&T, it's not important anyway, unless you have a data cap or something. And so for me, I'm going to say, despite the struggles we had the first night we got here, because it was like, what the heck is this? What's wrong?
Oh no, what are we going to do?
Well, we didn't have the password for the Wi-Fi though either.
Yeah.
But it's been good. And so I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same thing. I found it quite annoying that I kept having to reconnect to the Wi-Fi that's here, but I don't think that's the park's fault. I think that was just a motion of the fact that I was in the front of the trailer and something was blocking. I don't know. Anyways, 8.
Yeah, I would have maybe gone lower, except that they've invested so much into that. I've never seen very few campgrounds have invested so much in their Wi-Fi infrastructure.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got, remind me of the scores. On Big Rig Friendliness, we were at a 8. On Grounds and Facilities, 9.
9.
And
Vibe, we did 8.5.
8.5 and 8.
Internet, 8.
So, wow. Rainbow Ranch, you all rock. Owners and employees of the place, thank you for building such an amazing campground. One of the requests that we had over the winter was to talk about the things in the area. So it's what? How long does it take to get to Groesbeck? 15 minutes?
Maybe 20.
15, 20 minutes. And in Groesbeck, you've got like a smaller size grocery store. You got a Pizza Hut and a few stores. Nothing crazy, not much, but the basics. Like you can go to the grocery store and back, and it's fast.
I do want to add, make sure you bring your booze, because Limestone County is a dry county.
Good call. Now, a little bit further north from Groesbeck is a town called, I call it Mejia, but I think everybody else calls it Mejia. It looks like Mexia.
Spelled Mexia, yeah.
Yes, it's spelled Mexia. And they have, the Walmart and all of the fast food chains and other restaurants that you could possibly want. There's some good restaurants in Groesbeck too.
But that's about how far?
About 15, 20, well, Mejia?
Yeah.
Whatever. An extra 10, 15 minutes. It's not terrible.
So we're talking about a half hour, 45 minutes.
Not 45 minutes, a half hour. I would call it a half hour. And there's plenty of stuff there. So it's not like it's right up the street, but it's a lot closer to nearest facilities than a lot of other places. We're not going to rate that, but yeah, if you want to go to the grocery store, it's not going to take you 3 hours to go there and get back.
Nope.
Okay, so final thoughts on Groesbeck, on Rainbow Ranch.
Well, Groesbeck, man, on Rainbow Ranch. No, like we said, we were perms here, and it's probably for a reason. This is a beautiful park, great vibe. You're gonna have a great time here. Do note that there are event weekends or every other weekend. They don't do one every single weekend. So just be mindful if you're looking to come out here on what weekend you're coming out. But yeah, I'd come back out.
Yeah, and you can actually use their website. They have an interactive reservation map, so you can actually choose on a map what site you want, and that's pretty cool too. So bottom line, love this place. It's a wonderful experience, especially if you're newer to camping, or if you make your reservation early on the holiday weekends. And with that said, I think we're done, right?
I think we are.
All right, well, I'm David.
And I'm Eddie.
And we are
In it together.